Hi everyone, Bill here from the Sports Insanity Network, and welcome to another exciting edition of Murphy Sports Cinema. In honor of Lou Gehrig Day, today's film we will be talking about Pride of the Yankees, made in 1942. And in this honor, I think it's fair that Funko Pop Lou makes an appearance. If you watch Bombers Banter, you know the story. This was actually a birthday present that was given to me by my very good friend Vince. So it's for you, buddy. Uncle Pop Lou will be right here. Okay, you probably can't see him. But anyway, Pride of the Yankees was made in 1942 and tells the story of Lou Gehrig. It stars Gary Cooper as Lou Gehrig, Teresa Wright as his wife Eleanor, and actually there's a cameo appearance. Well, it's more than a cameo. He's actually in the movie, Babe Ruth. The movie was made a year after Lou Gehrig's untimely passing in 1941. So the film itself is mainly a very bare bones biopic of Lou Gehrig. It starts when Lou Gehrig was, we see a we see a little thing about when Lou Gehrig was young. He's playing baseball with his friends in the neighborhood. He hits a ball. It shatters a window of a local store owner. He gets picked up by the cops and the store owner, and Mrs. Gehrig asks how much is it, and they said it was like $18, which today's money would be a lot more. And she pays him, and I love this scene when the cop says to Lou, "Go, you better watch yourself, kid." But that was a hell of a wallop. And Eleanor, oh, not Eleanor's the wife, sorry. Christina, Lou's mom, is basically telling him, you can't just play baseball. Lou was like 9 or 10 at the time. You need to study. We came to this country for a good reason. They are both German immigrants. His parents were German immigrants. You need to be like your Uncle Otto, who was an engineer. And they have a creepily big picture of Uncle Otto in their house, but that's neither here nor there. You want to have pictures of your relatives? Go right ahead. Everyone does, but it's just like a weird big picture of him. It's like, okay, we're not gonna dread on this. We'll be here forever. But anyway, so you need to be an engineer, and young Lou goes, "Yes, Mama." And then it flash forwards to years later when Lou is in Colombia. He got in because his mom worked there as a cook and a maid. He gets into an engineering fraternity, but his real passion is baseball. And there is a time he's known as the Babe Ruth of college ball playing for Colombia. And when the Yankees want to sign him, at first he turns it down because he's, in the grasp of his mother. He goes, sorry, I'm going to be an engineer. More on that in a second. And then when one night Lou is studying, he hears word from his dad. He hears something from his mom, that his mom is sick. And they he they take her to a hospital, and to save his mom's life, because they really don't have any money, Lou Gehrig runs to the Yankees and signs the contract so he could get like his upfront check to pay for his mom's hospital bills. And then he's telling his mom, was, "Oh, I'm going to Hartford," and she thinks he said Harvard. Hartford is where the Yankees farm team was at the time. And Lou's away in Hartford. His mom doesn't know. And then it is found out. And then when the Yankees finally sign him, his mother freaks out because she wanted him to be an engineer and blah blah blah. And there is a scene when he says, "Listen, I had to do it, or you were gonna die." He goes, "I'd rather die than have what we came over this country so you could play a game." And yeah, and the rest of the movie just shows, like I said, this is just a very bare bone Lou Gehrig biopic. It shows him coming to the Yankees. It shows some baseball scenes. It shows a good amount, but a big factor in this film that is shown is Lou Gehrig meeting his wife, Eleanor Twitchell, who later became Eleanor Gehrig. How he met her in Chicago very early on in his career, which that's actually wrong, but we'll get to that in a moment. And how the relationship blossomed and his career on the Yankees. And it goes until Lou Gehrig eventually has ALS, and then we all know what happens. He takes himself out of the lineup in Detroit, July 4th, 1939. Today, I consider myself the luckiest man on the face of the earth. And that's that. But the real message of this story, which I find very interesting, is Lou Gehrig is, hey, we need to follow our own paths. We need to follow our own paths in life. And I think that is a very good message because there is a scene that, the scene I told you earlier that Mrs. Gehrig is just saying, no, you need to be like your Uncle Otto and become an engineer. And a scene when Lou Gehrig hits home runs in a World Series game. And I love this scene. His family and friends are just cheering, Lou, Lou, Gehrig, Gehrig, Gehrig. And his father takes their weirdly large picture of Uncle Otto and turns it around and sticks it on the wall. Basically, guess what, Uncle Otto? Lou made his own legacy. And yes, the message of this film is make your own path in life. Now we got to talk about, okay, first the acting. I think Gary Cooper was actually a very solid choice to play Lou Gehrig. I think he covered Lou Gehrig's personality perfectly. He was the, quiet, reserved, didn't really want to be in the spotlight, didn't really want to be in the spotlight that much and just was very close to his mom. Teresa Wright as Lou's wife, Eleanor, I think she did a fantastic job. You really could see this relationship that if you knew nothing about Lou and Eleanor, if you watched it just from this movie, you could see that this was a marriage that the two of them absolutely adored each other. And, in a world today where we see a lot of divorces and marriages not working out, when we see something like this, you think, we wish marriages could be more like that. But that is the most, you can see that these two absolutely are crazy for each other. And it is so sweet to see this depicted. And there is a scene between the two that is absolutely heartbreaking when Lou is going to Lou Gehrig Day when he makes the "Today I consider myself the luckiest man on the face of the earth" speech, and him and his wife are getting ready to go, and she's trying to play to be a reporter, and she's trying to play to being a reporter, and it's just really cute. She just wants to cheer her husband up in this time, and when he says, we never really had a honeymoon, so maybe we can go to Niagara Falls or travel around the world. We have all the time in the world now. And you could see Eleanor's trying to hold back the tears because she knows eventually her husband's going to die. And one quick scene I want to get to before I get to the inaccuracies. This is actually just a fun scene I love to watch. There's these two reporters. One of them is very close to the Gehrigs, and during one of the World Series games, he's with this other reporter. He goes, $10 says he hit it. $10 says he don't. You're on. And then he doesn't hit for a while. Goes, $20 says he doesn't hit it. Well, $20 says he does. And then the last one goes, $30 says he hits it. Well, $30 says he doesn't. It's a bet. And Lou Gehrig hits it and the guy wins $30. So, hey, he won $30. Good for him. So, yeah, those are the scenes that, and there was also a scene that really shows Lou Gehrig's character. I love this scene how the reporter is at the Gehrig's apartment, and Eleanor goes, "He's not here." Goes, "Well, where is he?" "Oh, I'll show you where he is." And she's like making it think like he's cheating on her. And he goes, "Oh, I'm going to smack him for this." The reporter says, "I'm going to smack him when I see him." He goes, and he's umping for neighborhood kids' baseball game. How cool is that? And you know why that scene is so great? Because that shows you what kind of person Lou Gehrig was. Lou Gehrig would absolutely be umpiring for a bunch of young kids. So Lou Gehrig would absolutely do that. Now, okay, they said this is based on a true story. But as I always say, people, when it says based on a true story, take it with a grain of salt. They made stuff up. A a perfect example. Okay, the first thing they made up. They said that saying that Lou and Eleanor met after his first game as a Yankee, in which would have been 1925. That is incorrect. Lou Gehrig and Eleanor actually didn't meet till 1932, years later. So that was one inaccuracy. I'm not going to have a stroke about it, but yeah, they met in 1932 and they got married in 1933. Another thing that they totally made up was there is a scene, but I don't mind the scene actually. This is actually a very good scene when Lou Gehrig hits two home runs in the 1926 World Series for a kid in the hospital. Yeah, that whole thing didn't happen. But, it shows first in the hospital, Babe Ruth is with the kids and all the cameras are there. All the cameras are there. They're taking pictures. And he's going, "I'll hit you a home run today." And then he leaves and all the cameras leave. And then Lou Gehrig comes in and says, "Hey, that's pretty cool that you got Babe to sign your ball." I goes, "Lou, can you sign it?" And he goes, "Sure." He goes, "Can you hit me a home run?" And he goes, "You already got Babe Ruth, but you know what? I'll hit you one." He goes, "Hit me two." No, okay. And he said, "But that's a little," because and he tells the kid, "Anything that's hard, you can do it." And he throws his words back at his face. Goes, "Okay, I'll hit you two home runs." That didn't happen, but I don't mind it because I don't mind it mainly because that shows you the contrast between Gehrig and Ruth. How Ruth loved being in the spotlight and loved all the reporters, while Gehrig loved being more quiet and doing it without the attention of the reporters. And there is a scene when Lou Gehrig's about to give his famous "luckiest man on the face of the earth" speech. He meets that kid and goes, "Mr. Gehrig, I don't know if you remember me, but when I was a kid, you hit two home runs for me, and I never got to say thank you. And you told me anything is hard, you can do it, you just got to try." I said, "Look, I can walk." Yeah, that didn't happen. But that shows you the type of character Lou Gehrig was. That he really showed what type of person he was, and he made and I think he would have made a promise to that kid. And reports are saying he did that in the 1932 World Series, not the 1926. And they also show that the Yankees won in 26, but they lost in 26, but they won in 27. Maybe they were trying to say that this was 27, but they actually played the Pirates, not the Cardinals in 27. Okay, you know what? It's a movie. Never mind. And the most, and something that they, and this is going into things that I wish they showed. But first, an inaccuracy. They showed that when Eleanor first met Mrs. Gehrig, Lou's mom, it showed that the relationship started off rocky, but they eventually got along. Oh, that couldn't be further from the truth. Christina and Eleanor Gehrig hated each other. Mrs. Gehrig, Lou's mom did not like that someone was coming to take her baby boy away from her. And you could kind of see the Garricks, I think, had four children, three or four children, but Lou was the only one who made it to adulthood. The other children sadly died. So Mrs. Gehrig was very protective of her son. So that's kind of understandable. But I have heard stories that that Mrs. Gehrig, that Christina Gehrig with her husband Henrik and Lou, that they would try to speak German in front of Eleanor because Eleanor couldn't understand it. And again, I don't know how true this story is, but I know that Lou and Eleanor never had kids. The report is that Eleanor was infertile, but they were considering adoption. And Mrs. Gehrig said, if our grandchild, say, we will not recognize that child as our grandchild because they're not really a Gehrig. So yeah, Christina Gehrig was a little, and they didn't really show much of that relationship. They showed, okay, it started off rocky, but they eventually got along. Yeah, that was a lie. They hated each other from day one to when Christina Gehrig left this earth. Something that I wish they would have shown in this movie was I wish they would have shown more of the relationship between Lou Gehrig and Babe Ruth, which Babe Ruth is played by Babe Ruth, which the cast in was not ideal because at this time Babe Ruth was in not the best of health. He had a heart attack and was in a car accident. And then after the film, he actually had pneumonia, which he was hospitalized for weeks. So, yeah, because this was like the last 5 or 6 years of his life. So, Babe was not in the best of shape. I wish they would have shown more of the relationship between these two because the story between these two is absolutely fascinating. When Lou Gehrig first came to the Yankees, Babe and Lou, I wouldn't say they were BFFs, but they were friendly with each other. They were cordial with each other. They went fishing together, I heard. But then there was an incident that happened. Yeah, and we can thank Lou Gehrig's mother for this. Yeah, thanks, Christina, for breaking apart this friendship. Christina Gehrig made a comment about Babe's second wife, Claire. Apparently, when they came to the game, Dorothy, who was Babe's daughter from his first marriage, she was adopted, was dressed like a tomboy, while Claire's daughter was dressed very nicely. And Christina Gehrig made a comment to one of the Yankee players' wives. It got back to Claire, and Claire told Babe. Babe was not happy about it. Babe was not happy about it. And he said to Lou, tell your mom to mind your own GD business. To mind her own GD business. And don't speak to me again unless it's on the ball field. Gehrig and Ruth literally did not reconcile until Gehrig's speech until July 4th, 1939. So I wish they could have went more into that. If they were to make a Lou Gehrig movie today, I would have loved to see more of the relationship and the falling out between Ruth and Gehrig. And, they show their personalities. Again, Ruth being very boisterous and Gehrig being very quiet and reserved. And I would have loved, and, and, okay, because Ruth and Gehrig were very different people. Babe Ruth was like the type of guy you would go to the bar and watch a football game with, while Lou Gehrig is the type of guy who you would probably go to the theater or to an art museum with. Because there was actually a story that Lou Gehrig actually asked one of his teammates, "Hey, you want to go to the opera with me?" And his teammate goes, "Yeah, no." So, yeah, I would have liked to see a more deep dive into the relationship. An interesting thing here when this movie was in production, first the director, Sam Wood, he didn't know anything about baseball. And when he saw the newsreel of Gehrig's speech, he said, "We got to make a film about this." And when he brought it to MGM Studios, MGM said they looked at sports movies as poison at the time because most of the movie going audiences at the time were women and they were making the decisions of what to see. But the movie ended up being a box office and critical smash. And the film actually, and Gary Cooper, who played Lou Gehrig, again, knew nothing about baseball, never even watched a game until he prepped for this role. And Lou Gehrig's widow, Eleanor, served as a consultant to the movie. And she got the final approval on everything. So, of the people that have happened in this movie, Lou Gehrig, you know what happens. I did a whole video last year, a Murphy's View for Lou Gehrig Day. So if you want to know more about Lou Gehrig, the player, go check that out. It's really good, I promise. But you know what happened? Oh, also the speech. That wasn't the actual speech. They didn't have an actual transcript of the speech, so they basically improvised the luckiest man on the face of the earth line, which is actually in the original speech. Like I said, go watch the video from last year, where I read the whole speech in its entirety. It's actually in the beginning of the speech, and here it's in the end because nobody had a manuscript of what he said. Because if you remember, again, the only two parts that were caught on film were the "Today I consider myself the luckiest man on the face of the earth" and the ending when he says, "I might have been given a bad break, but I have also a lot to live for." There was no manuscript. So they basically improvised. Yeah, but anyway, we all know what happens. Lou Gehrig feels that there's something wrong. July 4th, 1939, he bids farewell. And I'll give you the Cliff Notes version. In the last 2 years, he actually became a parole officer. He actually worked for the parole board because he believed he could reform people through the power of parole, even though he got many lucrative speaking engagements and very many offers where he could have lived comfortably and left Eleanor a nice nest egg. But he decided to be a public servant, which, again, I commend him for. And we all know Lou Gehrig passes away on June 2nd, 1941. Now, Eleanor Gehrig and his parents. First, the parents. You would think after Lou died, they would come together with Eleanor and be supportive. No, that didn't happen at all. Yeah, the rift continued. After Lou Gehrig died, Lou's parents, Christina and Henrik, sued Eleanor due to I thought that they were withholding his life insurance policy where they believe it should have been split even. And what happened after that? Christina and Henrik, what happened after that? They died. No, I'm not trying to be. Well, actually, first, the matter was actually settled out of court. The matter was settled out of court. And then what happened to Christina and Henrik? They died. No, I'm not trying to be funny. They died. Like, nothing else is known. They literally just, after that, they went into obscurity. After the lawsuit got settled, they basically went into obscurity and nobody heard from them again. I only found one source that said their death dates. The one source that said that Henrik Gehrig died in 1946 and Christina Gehrig died in 1954. So, yeah, nothing is known about them after that. After Lou died, they sue Eleanor, matter settled, they go away. Nobody knows where they're buried. Nobody knows their cause of death. They just disappeared. And no, I'm not trying to be funny. If some distant Gehrig relative is watching, I'm sorry. Now, Eleanor's life was actually very interesting. Eleanor, like I said, Lou and Eleanor had no children, and Eleanor never remarried. She actually said, I had the best 7 years with that man. I wouldn't trade those 7, well, 8. They got married in 33. He died in 41. I wouldn't trade those years for 40 years with another man. And Mrs. Gehrig dedicated the rest of her life to ALS awareness and preserving her husband's legacy. She was known as the first lady of the New York Yankees and came to every old timers day. She actually sold some of Lou Gehrig's memorabilia to fundraise for troops in World War II and was then honored by President Roosevelt. She was a very, she sat on the board of the muscular dystrophy board. She, again, did a lot for ALS awareness. And actually, in the 1960s, she actually stopped an alcohol brand from using Lou Gehrig's picture because she wanted Lou Gehrig to be promoted as the public, his image to be used for the public good. And Eleanor Gehrig, she passed away on March 6, 1984, at the age of 80. It was actually her 80th birthday. All right. So the film itself, The Pride of the Yankees, on the Murphy Sports Cinema baseball ranking, this movie gets a home run from me. Love the acting, love the scenes. It's a good biopic of Lou Gehrig. It's not just about Lou Gehrig, the ball player. It's about Lou Gehrig, the man. If you like what you see here, go to www.thesportsinsanitynetwork.com. Check out our vlogs, blogs, history, and check out all our vlogs here on YouTube. Like, comment, subscribe, and hit that bell. Thank you for watching. I'm Bill Murphy from the Sports Insanity Network. This has been Murphy Sports Cinema, so stay safe and take care. Bye-bye.